Politics tonight. Thank you for joining us on the program. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Shake up in NNPC as President Tinubu reconstitutes board, appoints Bashiru Julari as Group CEO and Amadou Kida as non-executive chairman. Tonight, our focus is on the Edo Election Petition Tribunal and the shake-up in the NNPCL. I guess the constitutional lawyer, Libros Oshoma, and we'll also have Omori Edogiawari, who will be joining us for the second segment of the program. Welcome to Politics Tonight, everyone. Stay with us. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, let's bring you some political developments. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited now has a new board constituted by President Bola Tinubu. The new 11-man board has Bashiru Julari as the Group CEO to replace Medekari and Amadou Kida to replace Pius Akinyelure as non-executive chairman. Mr. President invoked the powers granted under Section 59, subsection 2 of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, which emphasized the need to enhance operational efficiency. Appointed as 6 board members, non-executive directors representing the country's geopolitical zones. They are Bello Rabio from Northwest, Yusuf Usman, Northeast, and Babs Omotowa, who represents North Central. President Tinubu appointed Austin Avudu as a non-executive director from the South-South, David Igez from the Southwest, and Harry Obi from the Southeast. Permanent Secretary of the Federal Ministry of Finance, Lydia Jafia, will represent the ministry on the new board, while Aminu Ahmed will represent the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. All the appointments are effective from today. And to Edo State, where the Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has affirmed Monday Okwebolo as the duly elected governor of Edo State. The tribunal, in 2 respective judgments, dismissed the petition filed by the PDP, Action Alliance, and Accord Party. The tribunal held that the People's Democratic Party failed to call witnesses to prove its case of overvoting. The PDP failed to call polling units agents from all the polling units where they had alleged electoral irregularities. Out of the 19 witnesses called by the petitioners, 14 of them were ward and local government agents, and the star witness, who claimed to be a director of strategy for the PDP, played no role in the conduct of the election. The Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal earlier dismissed the petition filed by the Action Alliance and the Accord Party for lacking in merit and clarity. The tribunal held that Adekunle Omwaji of AA, who filed the joint petition, has no local standard to institute the case. Mr. Omwaji did not participate in the governorship election and as such has no power to question the validity of the election. For the Accord Party, the tribunal stated that the party failed to provide sufficient evidence to support their claims of non-compliance. We move away to other matters where President Bola Tinubu has departed Nigeria for Paris, France on a short walking visit. During the visit, the president will appraise his administration's mid-term performance and assess key milestones. He will also use the retreat to review the progress of ongoing reforms and engage in strategic planning ahead of his administration's second anniversary. The period of reflection, according to the presidency, will inform plans to deepen ongoing reforms and accelerate national development priorities in the coming year. While away, President Tinubu will remain fully engaged with his team and continue to oversee governance activities. He will return to Nigeria in about 2 weeks. Let's take a break, and when we return, we go straight into a conversation for tonight. Please stay with us, everyone.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time do you...
First, with breaking news.
Voted as the best TV station of the year. TVC News breaks into the core of every event as they happen. Following all nationwide big and impactful stories. Without the news from every perspective. Covering every human angle. I am Veronica, bringing you the news you would want to watch.
I'm Nifemi Oguntoye, news anchor with TVC News.
My day is usually busy and it's difficult keeping up with breaking news stories, trending stories, business news.
This is is a major pedestrian bridge linking Oyinbo here to Apapa Road over there.
With this overpass, we are providing what we call a permanent solution.
This place is one of the most dangerous areas at the biosecurity environment.
This can go into the news and every crumbs of your neighborhood.
Our goal is to remain as Africa's model megacity, to move our GDP from the 5-6 position to the 3rd position, and we believe it's achievable with all the commitments we have.
Explore the city of Lagos, where dreams are made and possibilities are endless. Amadedoja Salamadinihi. I live in Lagos, inside Lagos.
Every weekday on Business Nigeria, we uncover the secrets of the finance.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now let's bring you more stories. Vice President Kashim Shettima has returned to Abuja after observing Eid al-Fitr in his home state of Borno State. During his stay in Maiduguri, VP Shettima hosted a traditional luncheon for Borno State elders and former schoolmates, where he emphasized the importance of national unity and peaceful coexistence among Nigerians. He appealed to leaders to ensure the perfect maintain and build on the sense of unity that exists for the collective gain and progress of the states. More stories, and this is us going to Ogun State, where the state government has called on chemical handlers, industrial partners and policymakers to adopt clean energy technologies to prioritize environmental compliance and ensure long-term sustainability. Senior reporter Kazim Olowe reports.
As part of campaign for adoption of renewable energy in order to protect the environment, Ogun State government has called on chemical handlers and industrial partners to embrace clean energy technologies, including compressed natural gas. The governor of Ogun State, Akwa Abiodun, made this call during the 3rd edition of Chemical Handlers and Users Workshop, which was put together by the Ogun State Environmental Protection Agency. The governor, who was represented by his deputy, Noimo Salakoyedele, says the adoption of clean energy technologies will assist Ogun State and Nigeria in reducing pollution, improve public health, and build a legacy of sustainability for future generations.
By transitioning to CNG-powered vehicles and industrial processes, we can therefore reduce transportation and industrial emissions, improving air quality and public health, lower fuel costs for businesses and consumers, as CNG is significantly cheaper than petrol and diesel. Support local economic development by tapping into Nigeria's vast gas reserves, and mitigate the effect of climate change, such as extreme weather conditions, flooding, desertification, which threaten our communities.
The Commissioner for Environment, Ola Oresonya, says the workshop has evolved into a pivotal platform for discussing innovative solutions, enforcing compliance, fostering accountability in chemical safety and environmental protection, while reiterating the state government's commitment to a cleaner and healthier environment.
Ogun State continues to lead in environmental stewardship, exemplified by key initiatives such as the waste to resource, electric mobility leadership, and the Ogun State Ignite Youth Empowerment Program.
Earlier, the special advisor to the governor on Environmental Protection Agency says clean energy represents a pathway towards reducing harmful emissions and combating climate change.
And hydroelectric power will not only reduce pollution, but we also create new economic opportunities, improve public health, and build a resilient future.
Participants and other key players in the environment within and outside Ogun State appreciate the state government for the program and promise to work together in protecting the environment. Kazim Olowe, TVC News, Abeokuta.
The federal government has introduced 50 locally authored textbooks to tackle the present shortage of quality academic materials in Nigerian universities and colleges. This initiative, led by TED Fund, falls under the Higher Education Book Development Intervention Project. Maya Mohammed reports.
At this event, the Executive Secretary TED Fund shed light on the reason for unveiling 50 textbooks. And Minister of Education Maruf Tunji Alausa expressed concerns that most academic publications in the country do not get adequate attention.
The paucity of indigenous authored and produced tertiary level textbooks and related academic publications in a nation tertiary education institution is a known fact. Over time, Nigeria tertiary education institution became dependent on books published outside the country, with the attendant consequences of the pressures on demand for foreign exchange. It is equally worrisome that the quality of most academic publications in our country leaves much to be desired. It is therefore expected that nurturing the culture of quality authorship and the production of indigenous books will not only ensure the availability of relevant books in diverse subject areas that take cognizance of our local environment and sensitivities, but will also safeguard national pride and reduce the demand on foreign exchange.
The minister unveiled the books, which are 5 on medicine and pharmacy, 11 on art, culture and literature, 2 on law, 6 on technology and engineering, 2 on mathematics, 7 on agriculture and environment, 5 on economics and management, among others. Maria Mohammed, TVC News, Abuja.
Governor of Zamfara State, Dauda Lawal, and the Emir of Gusau, Ibrahim Bello, says Salah Dobra has come to stay and would be sustained to promote cultural heritage, peaceful coexistence among the people. Yofilos Arafai reports.
The Horse Durbar is a significant cultural event in northern Nigeria, particularly during Salah festivals, showcasing horsemanship, royal pageantry and traditional attire, while also serving as a platform for cultural expression and potentially addresses other key issues. It also showcases Emirates' real cultural heritage and also a time when citizens, visitors from other regions, and even foreigners gather to witness and appreciate the grandeur of the celebration. Though the event is common in northern Nigeria, this is the first time the Gusau Emirate Council in Zamfara State is observing the cultural event. Governor Dauda Lawal, who also holds the traditional title of Gamjin Gusau, attends the historic event.
I can't express how happy I am seeing how people are happy. Everybody came out to celebrate our culture. This is really great. This is the first time of its kind, and I can assure you next time it will be much, much better than what we've seen today. You can see how happy everybody is. I mean, that should tell you that good things are coming to Zamfara State. The insecurity situation is going very, very down, and will continue to fight insurgency by the grace of Allah so that our people can sleep very well and business activities will prosper in the Zamfara State.
Aside expressing his joy for the successful commencement of Salah Durbar in his emirate, the Emir of Gusau appeals to the state and federal governments to create job opportunities for the teeming unemployed to address youth restiveness.
That people are happy, and from there we are going to build on. And it is not only going to be this emirate, but all other emirates would like to emulate what we have done. So I wish to assure you that we are ready and we are making preparations for further advancement. That are making this arrogant attitude is because of poverty. And poverty can lead to anything. So what we are saying, if they have not been to school, the government can create a kind of job which they can do, so that at least that will save them.
Also at the events, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of First Bank Nigeria, Olusegun Ali Bayasu, was turbaned as the Njujuma of Gusau Emirate. Durbar Festival, with its roots in the pre-colonial era, has been a tradition for over 200 years. Theophilus Darufai, TVC News Gusau.
All right. Let's go on a short break, everyone, and I'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Meet Benga Oreshegun, a fearless voice and an advocate for the truth. He's bringing fresh energy and bold insights to journalists' hangout.
Get ready for deeper analysis and dynamic perspectives. Join me and Babajide Kolade Otitoju with other veteran journalists on Journalists Hangout. Weekdays from 5 p.m. and on Sundays, 1:30 p.m.
Maya Angelou was a civil rights activist, poet, and award-winning author known for her acclaimed 1969 memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and her numerous poetry and essay collections. Angelou was born on April 4, 1928 in St. Louis, Missouri. Angelou had a difficult childhood. Her parents split up when she was very young.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Now let's get straight into the conversation on Edo Governorship Election Tribunal. Progressives Congress have won round one in the series of petitions challenging their declaration. Does this come as a surprise?
No, not at all. Didn't come as a surprise. Not with my years of experience as a lawyer, at the Election Petition Tribunal. And like I tell people, I've been doing election petition cases since 2003,
wow.
Starting from Ogun State, and then subsequently in Cross River, then Akwa Ibom, Abia, Imo State, So I've traversed these areas, and since election petition, governorship elections petition terminates at the Supreme Court has streamlined the requirement for obtaining an election and made it impossible for election petition tribunals to obtain an election. And so basically, the courts are, always they exercise restraint in interfering with the mandate of the people once the election result had been declared, especially given the presumption of regularity in favor of INEC. And so this didn't come to me as a surprise. And then also, most especially, I had followed the tribunal when INEC did not call witnesses. A lot of people from the opposition, PDP especially, were jubilant that INEC agreed with them. And some people had asked me, I don't remember whether I was on this program, I did say that I share, similar experience with INEC, because in most of the cases I handled for INEC also, when you have not proved irregularity, I do not even need to call witnesses to disprove what you have not proven. So in that case, I expected that the judgment was going to go, this way, especially when you are alleging over discrepancies in results. The primary witnesses to call are witnesses from the polling unit. And this Edo case is similar, almost on all fours, with the case of the Osun Election Petition Tribunal that the PDP won in Osun. So you see, sometimes you say the hypocrisy of politicians. In Osun, the PDP were jubilant and the APC cried foul. But in Edo today, you will see the same PDP who cry foul and the APC are jubilant. So, but the matters are almost on all fours, And so what happens here is in Edo, the PDP is alleging discrepancies are collation. But what the tribunal has said is you must first and foremost call witnesses from the polling units, and then, like the Supreme Court ruled in Osun, when there are when you allege discrepancies, you must resort to the primary source of evidence, which is the beavers machine, and they must be examined, presented in the open court and then examined. I think that was why INEC didn't call witnesses, so that they don't give out, their witnesses, to PDP to examine and then repair their case. And so failure to do that is very fatal. And so when you now call collation agents to prove irregularities at the polling unit, the question would be, were you at the polling unit on that day? And once the collation agent says no, every evidence, everything he will say becomes a hearsay.
All right, but Mr. Shoma, I mean, it becomes very worrisome and interesting for some of us when we see that it looks like politicians and their lawyers continue to, intentionally waste the time of the court and continue to make the same mistake. Please help us break this down, because in the first judgment of the tribunal, Adekunle Rufai Omaje, who filed the joint petition, had no local standard to institute this case, as his petition was not based on election-related matters. Among other points, the tribunal held that he did not participate in that governorship election. Is this an intentional effort to continue to frustrate the efforts of the courts?
I think what is happening here is the fact that, you see, to encourage supporters. So even when parties know that they have no business at the tribunal, they still go to the tribunal. And then because there are no, actions and inactions, there must be consequences to actions and inactions in Nigeria. That's what what can deter, actions like this. I think there should be heavy punitive consequences against such political parties and parties.
What about
so
their
that
lawyers?
When you're approaching, that's also when there are punitive measures against the parties and their lawyers, certainly, because I agree with you, certainly that will deter people. And a situation where you know that you did not have a candidate in an election, and you know that the ground for filing election petition is that not just that you are just a political party, but you must first almost have a candidate. You must have feeded a candidate, must have feeded a candidate in that election. But in this case, you don't have a candidate. You didn't feed a candidate for the election, a pre-election matter. You approach the tribunal. And because the court had ruled that tribunal must take all matters and reserve judgment at the final stage to avoid preliminary appeals, then you see people bring frivolous matters and the tribunal having to, sit down patiently and deal with all of those matters and reserve judgment at the tail end or at the end of all of the petition. So it is, I think, what can deter such measures would be punitive measures for both the parties and their lawyers. Maybe punitive fine to be paid from their pocket, and then NBA can take up such matters. So I think that will deter a lot of people where you just dump documents on judges and expect them to read through the gamut of all of those documents. I saw that one as a very frivolous, rabble-rousing petition. And then secondly also, you find out that even when lawyers know that there is no merit in a petition, because they know they want to calm or assuage their teaming supporters that there is something in the offing. And so they still approach the tribunal and you hear them saying, oh yes, we have a case. Meanwhile, what they canvass on social media is completely different. It's at variance with the issues that they canvass in court. In court, they are asking for nullification of an election that the court should declare that the election be reconducted. But they go to social media to say, oh, look, we won that election and we're going to claim our mandate. And in some cases, like, in this case, you have 100 and something polling units where you are alleging discrepancies. And you call 19 witnesses. And of those 19 witnesses, maybe 11 are from polling units. Even if all of those 11 polling unit agents are able to prove irregularities, we talk about substantiality. Electoral Act talks about substantiality of irregularity. How substantial is 11 compared to 100 and something? So you now begin to ask yourself, because the court had ruled even in Obasanjo and INEC, so that even though, like the Supreme Court ruled in that case, that the irregularities were proved in Ogun State, but it wasn't substantial enough to affect the overall outcome of the election. So in this case, all of these precedents are already laid down. But because politicians will want to, give an impression to their supporters that, they have a case, and then lawyers also want to make money, they just approach the tribunal, knowing fully, they give hope, and then knowing fully well that, there is no meat in it. So some of us saw these things and we're called names that, look, there's nothing in this petition and it's dead on arrival. But we're called names. Anyway, they said they are proceeding to Court of Appeal.
So, Mr. Shoma, even with the PDP, And I want to have your broader perspective on this, because expectedly, we all thought PDP should know better. And also because I had a conversation with Governorship, who, convincingly, without any doubts, convinced me that he had enough evidence to strike out the case or to win or reclaim his mandate, so to speak. What could have gone wrong?
Well, why, without, Aswa is a very senior lawyer, and he knows, but I would not want to, at this stage, I'll probably say he probably is wearing the toga of a politician at that instance, and then maybe he's been encouraged, and then they have told themselves that they have, a gamut of evidence. But the question you will ask yourself is, the court also had consistently ruled on the issue of dumping of materials. When you allege overvoting, you must also speak to the document that you have tendered. And so that is why I do not file petitions. No matter how much you are paying me, I will tell you that, except you want to waste your money, we will lose, because the time for proving irregularity is not enough, except there is a very technical and moot point that the court will have to take, maybe on issue of, qualification. Let's say the court, the Constitution talks about the basic requirement, which is school certificate. And maybe the person tendered a school certificate that had been held to be forged and fake, and you have overwhelming evidence to that effect, and there is a court judgment to that effect. On that ground, it becomes very easy. You're not even talking about irregularities now, but competent qualification. But you find out a situation where you now begin to talk about proving irregularity. The last case that was nullified by the court on grounds of irregularity was before the 180 days rule. That was, I think, was it Peter Obi's case? And it took the court almost 3 years before that judgment was delivered. The Oshomole's case took the court a year and a half before the judgment was delivered in that matter. As for the Bayelsa case, it was on the ground of qualification and not irregularities. So when you look at all of these things and you know fully well that the time for proving irregularity is very, very short, you see lawyers still, go ahead trying to pass, a wall that, is insurmountable. You're talking about irregularity, and then you're talking about overvoting. The court had talked about the beavers machine, examination of the beavers machine. And then the last hurdle is the fact that the presumption of regularity is consistently in favor of INEC. Once results are announced by INEC, they are presumed regular. And so it is now you who is alleging irregularity, who is alleging that the results are not regular. The onus is now on you to prove that they are not, the result is not regular. It is not on the man who conducted the election. So that note should be well taken for people who are saying, the judgment had been procured. No. The law, the position of the law, unlike where you say he who assert must prove. In this case now, he who assert irregularity is the person that will prove irregularity. So because the law already presumed everything was done properly. And the Supreme Court had ruled in the case of Oshu that when there is discrepancies, the primary source of evidence is the beavers machine. And you must examine the beavers machine in open court and not bring certificates. Because what the APC did in Oshu was to have brought photocopies of documents that were allegedly given to them by INEC. But in that same election petition, INEC tendered a different set of documents. And the court agreed with INEC to the effect that, yes, INEC, after sorting out their back end, certainly will have discrepancies. So in this case, with all of those precedents, then you now come and you just still bring, photocopies of reports from somebody who was not even called as a witness in the matter, and then you're alleging irregularity at the polling unit. You call a collation officer, and then you expect that the tribunal was going to just go to their back end like they ruled in Kano, go to their office, and then begin to sort out materials for you. That is not the court is not a Father Christmas. The court won't do your business for you. And so the time for doing the business is very limited. And so any lawyer that thinks, he's going to upturn a governorship election at the tribunal using 13 witnesses It's just deceiving the politician.
All right. So when you say the time for proving irregularity is not enough, would you advocate for a constitutional amendment to that effect?
What I will advocate for is that INEC should up the stake so that the trust in the election process, the people will have trust and faith in the election process. And we can stop this idea of expecting that, 500,000 or 1 million people would go to the poll, and you expect that 3 persons will sit down in the tribunal and upturn that wish and will of the 1 million people. So that is the only way we can truly say we are practicing democracy. This idea of having phases, after first one is after the primaries, parties will rush to court on the valid candidate who is duly nominated, and thereafter, after the election, parties are still back to court. It's just enriching lawyers, really, because lawyers will sit down, senior advocate on both ends will make so much money from the process. At the end of the day, the result as announced by INEC are still upheld consistently by the tribunal. Apart from House of Assembly, House of Rep and Senate, a few Senate cases, go and check the record. How many governorship election cases had the court upturned in recent time? Because the Supreme Court has set, a very tall bar, and that it becomes very difficult for lawyers to cross that bar. So they know.
So we'll come back to INEC and what the commission must do better going forward. But, dragging the court into our electoral process, is this good for us as a country? Can we ever see an end to this?
It is not good for us as a country. Then what it means is that we're very bad losers. Because the hand that is winning today might be a loser tomorrow, and the hand that is losing today might be a winner tomorrow.
But you also talk about how INEC must do better. So how do we juxtapose both positions?
That's what I'm saying. First and foremost, it has to do with the politicians. When you appoint, the competent hands should be appointed into INEC, and INEC should insist and consistently ensure that they deploy technology consistently to eliminate discrepancies and fraud in the process. That way, no matter what happens, even if the politicians will allege, irregularities, but it will be so obvious that the elections were won fair and square. But in this case, where politicians will deploy everything, all kinds of tactics, to twist each other, and you also have INEC. If INEC is not above board, then you're going to consistently have this question mark. And then also, lastly, with the era of social media, everybody has become a lawyer. Even those people that do not even know what section 1, subsection 1 of the Constitution says, will be citing Constitution for you, on the basis of hearsay. And so that's why I think that we can do well. And also thanks to journalists for trying as much as, consistently to educate the people, especially the mainstream one, educate the people, talk about these processes, the process that must be followed. Even the politicians, they know. Some of them at the tribunal today knew fully well that case, there was no way it was going to go otherwise. But unfortunately, they just still had this, a way of hoping against all odds that, there was something coming when basically there was nothing.
Mr. Oshoma, like I said, this is stage 1, and expectedly these politicians would want to explore all the alternatives left at their disposal. But because of the technicality errors that have been, or the technical errors that have been pointed out by the court, what lessons must politicians take away from this ruling?
Do politicians actually learn anything in Nigeria?
You see,
the courts, the tribunal, look, okay, I always refer to Oshun in this matter because it is almost the same, almost the same set of facts, Oshun and Edo, that one, PDP won, here is APC. And you hear everybody will say victory for democracy. But in this case, in Oshun, it was 2-1, a panel of 3 with majority and 1 dissenting. But at the Court of Appeal, it was a unanimous decision, 3 panel. And even at the Supreme Court, it was a unanimous decision. So in that case, against that backdrop, even at this tribunal, it was a unanimous decision of the 3 panel members. So when you have such a unanimous decision, you expect that there's going to be a miracle when the court of appeal, in most times, usually restrain themselves to interfere with the findings of a lower court that sat down to examine the witnesses, the demeanor of the witnesses, that heard the witnesses and examine the documents. What the Court of Appeal will simply do is to examine records, because record of appeal will be transmitted from the tribunal to the Court of Appeal. The judges will read through all of the records, and on the basis of what is read, will give judgment. So you think that the Court of Appeal is going to, give a different opinion from what judges that have examined the witnesses and examined, some documents presented, if any, their opinion will be different. Certainly it won't be different. And that was why in the presidential election petition, when it took the Court of Appeal, which sitting at the Court of First Instance, when it took them almost 12 hours to deliver a judgment, it took the Supreme Court in less than 1 hour to just, use one-liner to strike out all of the petitions and uphold the judgment of the Court of Appeal. So I think in this case too, but like I said, if you do not go to the petition tribunal, your supporters will think you have been compromised. And so I think I feel for the petitioners, actually. I feel for them, because you have your teaming supporters who you want to give hope to, and at the same time, you have an insurmountable mountain that you cannot cross. So which one do you do first? So the first thing, the most important thing is to give that hope that will keep, their supporters alive. That's basically what they have done. And that is what they are going to do on an appeal too.
All right, Mr. Shoma, let's take a break. And when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Please stay with us, everyone.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I am sure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Jackson, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
The TVC News at 7 and the TVC News at 10 are not like any other news broadcast.
It's the big news hour, the hour for the big breaking stories.
We've got some of the best reporters on the field,
taking you through as it happened.
It's fast-paced, hard-hitting,
with investigations that matter.
bringing in news that affects your life.
With sport, entertainment, and business news, so you don't miss a thing.
Experience resourceful coverage with depth
every night.
I'm a fashion icon. I am a wealth coach and a real estate developer.
I am Amako Arakwe. I'm a corporate commercial lawyer and an entrepreneur.
Welcome to Warhaka. I am Ramatu Shehu Oyibo, an entrepreneur and a business coach.
I am the voice of an average Muslim woman, an hijabite, and a lawyer.
I am a polymath and a serial entrepreneur.
I am Murayo Afolabi Brown, Managing Director, TVC Entertainment. I'm a media consultant, producer, and broadcaster.
The ladies of Your View are made of women from different professions, tribes, cultures, and religion. Join us every Monday to Friday as we share our views on topical and social issues.
Maya Angelou was a civil rights activist, poet, and award-winning author known for her acclaimed 1969 memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and her numerous poetry and essay collections. Angelou was born on April 4, 1928 in St. Louis, Missouri. Angelou had a difficult childhood. Her parents split up when she was very young. Around the 1960s, Angelou lived in Ghana working as an editor and a freelance writer. Angelou also held a position at the University of Ghana for a time before she joined a community of revolutionist returnees exploring Pan-Africanism and became close with human rights activist and black nationalist leader Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. In 1961, Angelou appeared in an off-Broadway production of Jean Gennett. Tony Award nomination for her role in the play Look Away 1973 and an Emmy Award nomination for her work on the television miniseries Roots 1977, among other honors. Angelou's career has seen numerous accolades, including the
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you very much for staying with us on the program. Constitutional lawyer Libros Oshoma is my guest on the program tonight as we dissect the takeaways from the Edo election petition tribunal. Thank you very much for staying with us on the program, Mr. Oshoma. In the course of this conversation, we've talked about how INEC must also do its part in regaining the trust of the people. Anambra governorship election is just some months away. And I mean, if you remember clearly, during the Edo State governorship election, we talked about or we witnessed delay in the collation of results. Edo people had to wait till the next day for collation and announcement of election results. I'm wondering, why did we have to go through this challenge despite reforms in the use of technology for elections?
You see, it is the pressure we put on election processes here. Almost everything has collapsed in Nigeria, and the only sustainable industry now is politics. So everybody wants to be a politician. Everybody wants to go into politics. And so once elections approach like this, every other thing would take the back seat. And so there's pressure politicians will outdo, and also they are not from the mass, they also amount to outdo each other. So that's why there's so much pressure, when once there is politics. And so politicians are also looking for a way to maneuver. And that's why I believe that we have to consistently find a way to deploy, technology that will not have human interference. Once there are no human interference in the process, no matter the pressure from politicians, the process will run seamlessly. But once there are human interferences, you are continually going to have this, massive pressure. And then INEC trying to change position, INEC trying to outsmart the politicians at the same time, the politicians trying to outdo one another. So it's a cat and mouse game, and that's why.
But really, considering our peculiarity as a nation and the kind of people, that make up or constitute what we call Nigeria, would that even work for us? Is it realistic? Is it achievable for us to achieving electoral integrity?
Yes. First and foremost, that's why I always admonish politicians to align with the people, to fulfill their promises and align with the people, through their fulfillment of their promises, through their plans and programs, by ensuring that good governance, the people will naturally, when the people naturally, gravitate towards you, you won't need, no matter the pressure, you won't need to begin to manipulate the process. And so it will be very, very obvious. And that's the first step. But a situation where the politicians want to do everything by hook or by crook, and then the society also is not, we also have people who are not up and doing, and everybody wants to make it through crooked means. You're going to have this. Let me, such scenario. Let me give you this same Edo State. When in the 2020 election in Edo State, that the PDP won, Gordon Obaseki's second term, the APC, the governorship candidate, said he wasn't going to go to tribunal because in that election, you could see that the people actually came out to support the then governor. But that same governor, at the end of the day, he took the support for granted and frittered away the goodwill. And then election came. It was almost as if he was the one facing the subsequent election. And then the people also who had hitherto supported him said, look, we're not going to support you again. And so it became a strong divide. You saw even his deputy, he had a running battle with his deputy. You saw him in court today. So against that backdrop, now, you saw him, behaving as a candidate at the INEC office, so all of these things, if he had consistently allowed democracy to prevail from the primary process and then through his plans and programs, which is what I will admonish this current governor to do also, align with the people, forget whatever anybody is saying, ensure that those people that voted you into office, you fulfill your promises to them. At the end of the day, you won't have to, begin to jump from one tribunal to another. Also, in the same vein, I think it was 2016 election that brought Oshomole's second term. At that election, you saw how Edo overwhelmingly also supported the second term ambition of Oshomole against General Charles Ahiari, because they could relate with his plans and program. That's the best way. That's one of the best way the politicians can silence opposition. And then there'll be less pressure on INEC. There won't be so much noise. And I will admonish the federal government also to do the same thing. So we take away the pressure from the umpire and then de-emphasize the importance of the umpire. When all the umpire will now have to do is to improve technology a little bit. And, all the process, all of this heat and all of this tension will not be there. Because we have to, while we're talking about INEC, we also have to admonish the politicians who consistently, like Eleke the bird, I'll be the hunter this time, are looking for a way to ensure that they consistently remain relevant and maintain victory.
Absolutely. Before I let you go tonight, this is a new development and we'll continue to monitor what happens in the coming days. But before I let you go, what more reforms do you think we need to make our electoral process better?
Yeah, I also want to, this idea of election petition, the governorship election petition is the only election petition that moves in 3 stages, across 3 stages. All others are 2 stages. So at this stage, since we have cured the mischief of having conflicting judgment from the various court of appeal, I think governorship election petition, just like the presidential election petition, should start at the court of appeal and terminate at the Supreme Court. It shouldn't start at the tribunal, the election petition tribunal, and terminating at the Supreme Court, because terminating at the court of appeal, like the House of Rep is currently trying to do, because you're going to return us back to that mischief that we cured when it was now taken to the Supreme Court. That's one of such a reform. The second reform is that the INEC register, we need to consistently update INEC register, to the extent that we can, the voting process we can even start voting even before the D-Day for voting, where people, all you need to do, I don't like MBA election. We vote online. I don't need to be at the polling unit or gather in one place where everybody will come and vote. We can deploy technology to use our smartphones, and then people can look at the process, online as voting is taking place. We can sit down here and monitor the American election. But how come we're still waiting for INEC to declare result at the end of the day? Even though lawyers, I will not tell you that the election we conduct online, that lawyers still do not dispute it. But to a very large extent, they've been able to streamline the process that if the result eventually announced, we already see it, we monitor it online. We all have unique numbers. We have our unique, voting cards and numbers. And so we can make these processes, less cumbersome and de-emphasize this election petition tribunal altogether.
All right, greatly to lead the conversation. Constitutional lawyer Libros Oshoma, thank you so much for your time with us tonight and for always, bailing us out of this political and legal quagmire. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X. That's TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke.
Bye, Mom. He's going to play in this weather. Why did you let him go? He might fall ill. And if he doesn't go out for practice, how will he win more trophies? To protect our family from illness-causing germs during the rainy season, we use Dettol soap every day.
Dettol with germ defense gives you protection. Raining season brings a lot of germs, and Dettol soap's germ defense protects you from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Tired of spending endless hours in the kitchen? Struggling with bulky appliances? Cooking should be a delight, not a chore. Tired of messy cleanups from kitchen tools that never seem to perform as expected? Do you wish there was a single solution to handle all your blending, chopping, and grinding needs? Introducing the Cook X 4-in-1 Blender, the ultimate kitchen tool to revolutionize your cooking. It's a food processor, mixer, grinder, and blender, all in one. The incredible Cook X 4-in-1 blender comes with 3 versatile cup sizes, each tailored to handle a specific task perfectly. The Cook X 4-in-1 blender elevates your cooking cup sizes, each designed for specific tasks to simplify your life. First, the 650 milliliter cup, the 450 milliliter cup, and the 1.8 liter cup. Additionally, the Cook X 4-in-1 blender features a convenient filter, allowing you to create smooth, pulp-free juices. The secret of the Cook X blender lies in its 800-watt motor, combined with a precision extractor blade, providing the power to transform ordinary foods into extraordinary dishes. And multiple speeds give you complete control over any recipe you create. Savory stews, delicious egusi, perfectly blended beans for akara or moi moi, and everything in between.
The Cook X 4-in-1 blender has been a game changer for me. It takes the hassle out of